Hey guys, Randy Potato here with a hero guide for the Man-at-Arms. We'll discuss the unique skills, hero paths, and trinkets, and the different builds you can use with this character, and in what types of parties and scenarios they will thrive. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe. I post new content every day. The Man-at-Arms is a versatile powerhouse, capable as a DPS but thriving in a tank role. Most comfortable from the front ranks, but very usable from any position. He has 3 fairly strong paths, but Vanguard stands out as among the strongest paths in the whole game. Let's start with the path overview. Vanguard boosts his already high max HP by 20%, boosts Crush by 25%, and riposte damage by 50%. It balances this by nerfing his DOT resist by 20%. Sergeant nerfs his damage 20%. In exchange, he gains 100% move resist. Bolster now removes weak and vuln on himself, and he has a 20% chance to grant each ally an astounding 50% resist to all dots on turn start. Bulwark nerfs Crush and riposte damage by 25%, buffs his shield skills, Rampart and Hold the Line, by 50%, adds 10% stun chance to his shield attacks, and gives Standfast 2 taunt tokens. Now, on to skills. Crush is his base melee attack, usable from the front 2 ranks against the front 3 enemy ranks. It does 4 to 7 damage, 6 to 8 on upgrade, and on combo it heals 10% of your max HP, 20% on upgrade. It's further boosted by Vanguard and nerfed on Bulwark and Sergeant. This is the standout base attack among all heroes, boasting an incredible 3 rank reach while doing acceptable damage, and the absolute insane self-heal on combo, which is made more impressive with Man-at-Arms' considerable health pool. This skill is absolutely mandatory on every Man-at-Arms build, except back row meme ones, even on Bulwark, because self-heal is just too powerful a tool for a tank to possess. Rampart is usable from the front 3 to front 2 ranks, moves Man-at-Arms forward, does 3 to 6 damage, 4 to 7 on upgrade, while knocking back and dazing the enemy. On upgrade, this move stuns on combo. It's strongly boosted by Bulwark and nerfed on Sergeant. Unupgraded, this is a solid movement ability that can help set up positioning and also mess up your opponent's positioning. The daze is often useful in securing a kill before your enemy can act. On upgrade, this becomes a quite strong move, enabling you to stun an enemy. Unfortunately, unless you're running Bulwark, and you shouldn't run Bulwark, this doesn't do enough to fit on most bars except as an emergency equip to fix your positioning. There are just too many powerful Man-at-Arms skills to use this. The stun is fun, but most of your toughest foes will have high stun resist, rendering this skill obsolete except against trash mobs, who don't require much setup to kill usually. Defender is an any rank to any rank buff, giving Man-at-Arms 2 block tokens, block plus on upgrade, and granting 2 guard tokens, 3 on upgrade, to an ally of your choice. These guard tokens will allow Man-at-Arms to block an incoming attack directed at your ally. Notably, this does not work if both you and your ally are hit by an AoE attack. This skill has insane amounts of utility, often in ways you wouldn't think of. This is a pretty nifty move to help one of your more fragile heroes stay off death's door, and to block very specific attacks, like the exemplar move The Fall, which eats combo tokens and generates worship, and the Observe moves from the Act 3 minions, and Suppress from the Act 3 actual boss. It generates block not just on yourself, but also applies guard tokens to an ally, which are considered positive tokens for the sake of moves like Indiscriminate Science, or trinkets that grant you additional damage per positive token. And in the most recent update, which reworked relationships, this is a buff move with 0 cooldown, which you can use to boost affinity with your allies. This last benefit is the most significant strength of this skill as of the last patch, and it's the only reason I equip it right now outside of niche cases, as Man-at-Arms has a very powerful and diverse kit. So as of right now, I put this on every bar, but further affinity reworks could render this mostly obsolete again. Bolster is another buff, usable from any position to any ally, with a 1-turn cooldown. It heals both your and one ally target stress by 1, 2 on upgrade, assuming you have hit the 5 stress threshold. In addition, it grants Man-at-Arms block plus on upgrade, and removes vuln from your ally, removing weak as well on upgrade. Sergeant lightly buffs this skill by removing your own weak and vuln tokens as well. This is a mandatory equip for every Man-at-Arms build, and a priority upgrade, being the only stress skill that can move 2 targets from the 5 threshold to the no negative road banter threshold of 3. Only time I don't upgrade this immediately at N1 is if I have a Jester as well, and would rather buff either his Inspiring Tune or 2 attacks instead. With stress being one of the key components to gaining or losing affinity from road travel, this is one of the strongest skills in the game. Its secondary effects are nice, but this skill is rarely used for those, only when stress is at threshold. Hold the Line is another melee shield attack, usable from ranks 2 through 4 against ranks 1 or 2, doing 3 to 6 damage, 4 to 7 on upgrade, while granting you a block token, an immobilize token, and a combo stun on upgrade. It's further boosted by Bulwark and nerfed on Sergeant. This is a situational complement to Rampart, giving you block for sustain and allowing you to attack from rank 4, which Rampart cannot do. The primary use for this ability, however, is when you need to lock yourself into the front rank with Immobilize. There are a number of uses for this, most notably against the Harvest Child, to block other heroes from moving forward to eat. Immobilize also unlocks a lot of different builds and playstyles for other movement heroes, but for those you'd rather have the permanent Immobilize trophy, not a stopgap solution. This just has less use cases than the already mediocre Rampart and goes on a lot less bars, and even then is often a situational equip. Bellow is an AoE party debuff usable from any rank. It does no damage, but removes riposte and lowers speed by 3, 5 on upgrade. On upgrade, it also removes crit. This is a very useful ability just for the AoE, even if the actual effects are weak and situational. This can strip a full enemy party's dodge tokens, and counts as a hit for, say, proccing the general's taproot, or if you want to apply AoE burn with Firestarter. The speed debuff, especially upgraded, can help you finish enemies without taking hits by forcing them to move last, although the toughest enemies in the game have rather high debuff resist. The riposte removal is situational but can come in handy versus the knight, but is practically a mandatory equip for dealing with the Exemplar. This is rarely a permanent equip, rather something I run if I plan to enter a fight with a lot of dodge tokens, like the Creature Den, Cultist Encounters, or the Sluice, and of course the Exemplar. It's unlocked at Man-at-Arm's first hero shrine. Retribution is arguably the strongest ability on arguably the strongest hero in the game. This skill grants Man-at-Arms 2 taunt tokens, and 2 riposte tokens, with the upgrade adding 2 block tokens. The riposte itself does 4 to 6 damage, being strongly boosted by Vanguard and nerfed with Bulwark and Sergeant. The best tank skill in the game, being the only one that draws enemy fire while also dishing out damage of your own. The utility and action economy of this skill is insane. If running Vanguard, which you should always be running, you on average deal 15 damage with 1 move, while also drawing attention from your more fragile heroes. This is an equip on every build, including the rank 4 meme builds, because it's your only source of damage. Even on Bulwark, the utility of the skill is just too good with the minor damage nerf. The upgrade is middling. Block is nice, but his health pool is so large you'd rather get your damage and utility upgraded first. It's unlocked at Man-at-Arm's third hero shrine. Command is an any rank to any rank single target buff, removing blind and adding a strength token on a 1-turn cooldown, with the upgrade eliminating the cooldown. This has quite incredible utility, being usable from any position, but of course is somewhat niche in that in most situations you use this as blind removal primarily, as a solitary strength token isn't often a good use of a full turn from a hero as powerful as Man-at-Arms. Definitely most impressive against enemies like the Act 2 and 3 boss, who regularly blind, along with the Leviathan and the entire Shroud. Also a nice pairing with a Tempest Leper, giving him a massive damage boost. It's not affected by any paths directly, but it's a must equip on Sergeant because you don't do damage yourself on that path anyways, and would rather give strength to an ally. Outside of that, I rarely make it a permanent equip, only situational to the aforementioned scenarios. The Man-at-Arms kit is just too powerful. It's unlocked at Man-at-Arm's final hero shrine. Stand Fast is a self-buff usable from the front 2 ranks, giving you 2 immediate block tokens, and an additional block token on turn start for the next 3 turns. On upgrade, these tokens become Block Plus. It has a 2-turn cooldown, turning to a 1-turn cooldown on upgrade. Bulwark path grants this move 2 taunt tokens, and it's unaffected by the other paths. Mostly this move is unequipable, as generating self-block by itself isn't too powerful on a hero that can generate block and defend an ally, or generate block, taunt, and add a riposte damage. Even on Bulwark, it's fairly middling, as Man-at-Arms has such a good kit that simply turtling up is not the best use for his talents. The only exception is against the Act 3 boss, where this move is a mandatory equip. You essentially gain permanent block plus, completely nullifying the focused fault's attacks. If running Act 3, it's a must upgrade equip at the final inn, otherwise I rarely use this. It's unlocked at Man-at-Arms' second shrine. Courageous Abandon is a rank 1 to rank 1 meme nuke, dealing base 3 to 6 damage, 5 to 7 on an upgrade. If you have block, you gain 100% damage, and an additional 100% damage with block plus, while removing your block and giving yourself a Vaughn token. It also ignores enemy block and has a 2-turn cooldown. This is a cute idea, but never actually works in reality. The setup is way too long for what ends up an exceedingly mediocre nuke, considering you have to waste 3 turns to generate the 2 types of block and then use this ability, only to make your first 2 turns irrelevant by removing your own block. It's nerfed by Sergeant and unaffected by the other paths. Unfortunately, this does not count as a shield skill, which would at least make this almost usable on Bulwark. The skill should never be equipped for any reason unless you're doing a meme run. But I have to say, even as a meme, it's exceedingly boring. It's unlocked at Man-at-Arms' 4th shrine. Strategic Withdrawal is a single target attack usable from the front 2 to front 2 ranks. It does 3 to 6 damage, 4 to 7 on upgrade, moves Man-at-Arms back 1, and applies a combo. On upgrade, it also grants a speed token, as well as a 33% heal and a block plus when on Death's Door. It has a 1-turn cooldown. It's nerfed by Sergeant and unaffected by his other paths. This is a neat but somewhat niche ability if you require movement to enable your team, such as having a Ravager Hellion you need to keep up front, or as a desperate combo enabler. The Unmastered ability is very rarely equipped, but it's a fantastic upgrade, where it can keep you alive in the toughest fights in the game. I always master and equip it for the mountain, and if I can spare the mastery for a situational move, I'll upgrade it early before a lair. Otherwise, it stays off most bars. It's unlocked at Man-at-Arms' final shrine. Now on to trinkets. Price of Pride grants you a block plus 33% of the time whenever you are hit, gives Bellow a 10% stun chance, while blinding you if you move first in round, which you rarely do because of your lower speed. This is a fantastic sustain trinket. The Bellow stun is mostly gimmicky, but 10% is high enough chance that I'll usually give it an equip if I find the trinket. While this is never an insta-trash, I rarely want to carry this trinket to the mountain. You already generate a ton of block as the Man-at-Arms, and keeping a trinket that only gives you a chance of generating more is just not great considering the other available tanking trinkets. Standard of the 9th gives each of your allies a block plus token on combat start, and boosts Courageous Abandon crit chance by 50%, while giving you a weak token if you miss while on rank 1. Courageous Abandon is still a meme, even with increased crit, so I never consider that part of the buff. Free Party Block Plus is fantastic sustain for standard combats, and is a must equip for much of the game. Unfortunately, like Price of Pride, it falls off endgame and against bosses because you only get the one-time buff. I'm never unhappy to see it in a random reward pool, but I would never consider purchasing this. Undeserved Commendation gives Command an insane 33% chance of applying a crit token as well, boosts your already incredible HP 25% while in rank 2, while giving you 1 stress if moving from rank 1. This is an incredible, usually always equipped, that completely changes the way you play for most parties. Of course, you'll want to grab the Immobilized Trophy to lock yourself in rank 2 and become a powerhouse, but even without that, it's still incredible. Giving crit chance makes Command a must equip and a priority upgrade, though if you're running Vanguard, you still prioritize Retribution in most scenarios. This trinket takes priority over most trinkets, even the incredibly powerful tank trinkets like Clenching Claw and Reverberating Redoubt. It's definitely a mandatory purchase, beating out almost all of the hero trinkets as well. Now on to deeper discussion of Man-at-Arms' 3 paths and what skills and trinkets to use with them, and what team comps they work best with. Vanguard is the Man-at-Arms' premier path, and frankly the only path worth equipping once unlocked. Not only do you get max HP for your tank, but this also for some reason boosts your already most powerful attacks. It can fit in either of the front two ranks, making him somewhat versatile as far as tanks go. For skills, obviously you take the boosted Crush and Retribution. Bolster is also a mandatory equip on all Man-at-Arms builds, as is Defender as of the current patch because of the free affinity boosting. For the final skill, there are a lot of ways to go. Rampart can be an equip if you don't have the Immobilized trophy and you want a simple way to move yourself back into position if you're starting in rank 2. Hold the Line has a similar use case, while also being quite good in niche scenarios like the Harvest Child where you want to be immobilized, or Shuffle Protection, as Rampart can't be used from rank 4. Bellow gets good use, especially early game, and against dodge-specific parties. It's also a mandatory equip against the Exemplar. Command usually only goes on your bar if you grab Undeserved Commendation, or for the lung fight, and sometimes the Shroud. Stand Fast is literally only ever equipable against the Act 3 boss, but of course it's a mandatory equip and upgrade there. Courageous Abandon is never usable. Finally, Strategic Withdrawal is used mostly if you're running with Ravager Hellion and need a way to fix positioning, or when you can spare an upgrade and utilize this as a way to sustain yourself versus a boss. Vanguard is an incredible and frankly almost always an optimal selection for any team comp, being flexible among his front rank positioning and filling the role of tank. I like pairing him with Plague Doctor since his dot resist is lowered, though I like pairing everyone with Plague Doctor. He especially shines in Act 3, where his health pool along with Stand Fast make him by far the strongest hero for tackling the focused vault. This is easily the strongest Man-at-Arms path, and arguably the strongest in the game, and is the only Man-at-Arms path worth using, frankly. Sergeant is a supposed tank and buff bot path that frankly doesn't do either well enough to counter the downsides. Most of the benefits are niche. Move resist is cool, but the Man-at-Arms has ways to fix positioning and doesn't need to fix zone positioning much on Sergeant, so that this is really only powerful against the Leviathan, who is the most worthless boss rewards-wise, and the Exemplar if you park in rank 4, to avoid getting pulled with Prelude. The Bolster self-clear is pointless because Man-at-Arms has many ways to generate block to get rid of Vaughn, and Sergeant is already weakened, so removing a weak token does very little. The dot resist is very nice, but of course it's RNG and still somewhat niche. For the bar, since this path does not do damage, you want to focus on the various utility skills. Bolster is an always equip, of course. Defender is an absolute must, especially with the current affinity system. I still slap on Retribution because taunting and returning damage is still very strong. It's just much weaker on this build. Your last few skills will change. Crush is obviously a much weaker attack now, but if you're parked in the front rank, the reach to rank 3 along with the self-heal is still incredible utility. Rampart probably doesn't do enough to warrant a spot on the bar, especially with the decreased damage, at least without an upgrade for stun. Hold the Line is a much more usable skill for your Sergeant, as you're really only being moved with opening shuffles, so this can fix positioning for good. It also stuns on upgrade as well. Still, your Sergeant positioning usually doesn't matter much, so I don't bother running this most of the time. Bellow is great in all the usual situations, and without damage is more relatively viable as opposed to other paths, but I still only use it on occasion. Command is a great move, since you don't do damage anyways. Dropping a strength token for your top DPS is a solid use of a Sergeant turn, since they don't do much anyways. Stand Fast again is only relevant against the Act 3 boss, otherwise you still want to be using Retribution and Defend instead as your tanking skills. Courageous Abandon is even worse than usual on Sergeant, an obvious never equip. Strategic Withdrawal again is only really useful upgraded and against bosses. You never really have room for this on your bar. So for front rank Sergeants, I'll usually go with Crush, Defend, Bolster, Retribution, and Command, dropping Crush for Bellow and Hold the Line as needed. If I'm running a back rank Man-at-Arms, I'll drop Crush for Bellow full time. Technically this hero fits well in any party, as you can run him anywhere ranks 1 through 4, and he fulfills your tank role. You just need him surrounded by top tier DPS. Still, fitting in isn't enough with a hero this powerful when you can just run Vanguard instead. This isn't even a fun trash path like Carcass, just completely boring and completely outclassed by his other paths. I never see a point running this. Bulwark is a much superior tank path to Sergeant, and probably Vanguard, though it is still vastly inferior to the latter. Losing your Crush and Retribution damage is huge, even with the buff to your inferior shield skills. The stun buff is still niche, of course, because of the upgrade and combo necessity. Stand Fast is now equipable for tanking, though Retribution is still better even with the nerf. Doing damage is better in all scenarios. For the bar, I consider Rampart, Bolster, Defender, and Retribution must equips. Rampart because it's reusable, unlike Hold the Line. Bolster, Defender because all Man-at-Arms run these skills. And Retribution because taunting and riposting is still OP, even with less damage. I'll usually suck it up and run Stand Fast as my last skill. With the upgrade, you can alternate Retribution and Stand Fast every turn and do some uber tanking. Crush is still surprisingly viable again because of the reach and heal, though if you don't like the Stand Fast turtle up playstyle. Though if you don't like that, don't run this path. Hold the Line is mostly redundant here. You can't really afford 2 slots that do basically the same thing. If you're immobilized though, Hold the Line could replace Rampart depending on whether you value knockback or a block token more. Bellow, Command, Withdrawal are all still situational that replace your Stand Fast in certain scenarios, and Abandon is worthless as always. This path fills mostly the same role as the Vanguard as your front rank tank, though he is more comfortable than Vanguard in movement comps and can start and live in rank 3 if necessary. He's technically superior specifically against the Act 3 boss, in that he can taunt every turn against the eyes, as well as casting a taunt that does no riposte damage to accidentally kill the eyes you don't want killed. Still, overall he just does far less damage, and while getting 2 very strong taunts is nice for a tank, I feel Vanguard Retribution is sufficient as far as tanking goes, and would take Vanguard over Bulwark in every scenario because of the elite damage and HP buff. Another path that could be fine if Vanguard didn't exist. Overall, the Man-at-Arms is the best overall tank in the game, and fairly versatile in that role. Shining in the front ranks, of course, but at least usable in the back ranks if you need that for some reason. Vanguard is absolutely his premier path, and among the strongest paths in the game, adding elite damage to his already stunning tank and buff bot kit. Defend is the most useful affinity farming skill in the game, and he hard counters the Act 3 boss with his constant block plus generation. His other paths are of course quite usable, if not for the fact that Vanguard exists. He fits in and is probably optimal in every single team comp. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I post new videos every day.